Well, good afternoon folks and welcome. My name's Lee, your virtual airline pilot. I'm back with you again for the second of this week's reviews. We've done a few changes to the time and month and everything just to try and showcase this scenery a little better. Where are we? We're in northeast Canada in Newfoundland, and this is Goose Bay Airport in Newfoundland in Canada, Charlie Yankee Yankee Romeo. This is a payware scenery from PROPAIR FLIGHT, and you're looking at version 1.0.1 for the PC version of Flight Sim 2020. There is a 2024 version available as well. Download comes in at 1.56 gig and it installs at 4.77 gig. It's currently available from both SimMarket and Orbix. I'll give you the Orbix price, which it comes in at €11.88, which equates to roughly $13.79 US, or £10.28 UK. All of those prices are estimates taken from the euro, and they include tax or VAT at 20%, which of course could vary depending on your country of purchase. So what have we done? Okay, I set this up to January, and we've added a bit of snow depth. There's about 15 feet of snow depth here, and just thought I'd take this view across part of the airport here. We're looking towards the south. Here's the parking areas down here. My aircraft is down there as well. Here's the control tower, and as you can see, there's some lovely snow on the ground at the moment. Just a way to showcase the airport for you, maybe to see how nice it can look at this time of the year. So let's look at the features in this scenery. Okay, features. So this is how it comes out. A highly detailed rendition of Goose Bay Airport, crafted with passion and precision. Meticulous attention to detail with 3D modeling, textures and ground poly. Dynamic lighting and animated elements that create a living, breathing airport environment. Handcrafted terminal buildings and control tower. Detailed apron areas with realistic ground markings and PBR textures. That's quite a lot in the description for what appears to be off the bat quite a fairly simple scenery, but as we get down to explore it, we'll see just how much of those features are actually in the scenery. This airport has a long history, not only for stopover flights in the old days from Europe to the US and beyond, certainly the west coast, but it has a constant military presence here as well, and there's been things going on at the airport over the years. So let's discuss some of that history. There's a fair bit to come. You can skip some of it if you wish, but I think the history is quite interesting. So let's talk history now. Okay, so history then. Canadian Air Force's base Goose Bay, or Charlie Yankee Yankee Romeo, commonly referred to as CFB Goose Bay or just plain Goose Bay, is a military-stroke-civilian airport owned by the Government of Canada and operated by the Five Wings Operations Centre. The airport is primarily a Canadian Forces base, located in the municipality of Happy Valley, Goose Bay, in the province of Newfoundland, in Labrador, in northeast Canada. It's operated by an Air Force base. It's operated as an Air Force base by the Royal Canadian Air Force, and its primary lodger unit is Five Wing, commonly referred to as Five Wing Goose Bay. The airfield at Goose Bay is also used by civilian aircraft, with civilian operations at the base referring to the facility just simply as Goose Bay Airport. The airport is classified as a Canadian Port of Entry by NAV Canada and is staffed by the Canadian Border Services Agency. CBSA officers at this airport can handle general aviation aircraft only, with no more than 15 passengers. While the flat and relatively weather-favoured area around Northwest River had for years been under consideration for an airport for the anticipated North Atlantic air routes, it was not until Eric Fry of the Dominion Geodetic Survey investigated the area in July of 1941 that Goose Bay location was selected. Fry beat by 3 days a similar United States Army Air Force survey team under the command of Captain Elliott Roosevelt. The American team had first investigated nearby Epinette Point before joining Fry at the sandy plains that would actually become Goose Bay. These surveys used amphibious aircraft that landed at Grenfell Mission. From there the teams explored by boat. Under pressure from Britain and the United States, the Canadian Air Ministry worked at a record pace, and by November, 7,000 foot or 2,100 metre gravel runways were ready. The first land aircraft movement was recorded on the 9th of December 1941. By spring of 1942, the base, now carrying wartime code name Akali, was bursting with air traffic destined for the United Kingdom. In time, the US Air Force and the Royal Air Force each developed sections of the triangular base for their own use, but the airport remained under overall Canadian control despite its location in the Dominion of Newfoundland, not yet part of Canada at the time. The 99-year lease arrangement with the United Kingdom was not finalised until October 1944. By around 1942, the aerodrome was listed as RAF Aerodrome Goose Bay, Labrador, an elevation of 147 feet or 45 metres. The field was listed as all hard surfaced and had 3 runways. Goose Bay had a long history of operations during the Cold War and beyond. Goose Air Base was the site of the first US nuclear weapons to be held in Canada when in 1950 the United States Air Force Strategic Air Command, or SAC, stationed 11 Model 1561 Fat Man and Mark IV atomic bombs at the base in the summer and flew them out again in December the same year. The value of the airfield and facilities built and improved by the US Air Force since 1953 were transferred to Canada and were estimated to be in excess of US $250 million, equivalent today to $1.4 billion. By 1976, all SAC assets had been stood down and only the US Air Force logistical and transport support remained. In 1983, a NASA Boeing 747 transport aircraft carrying the Space Shuttle Enterprise landed at Goose Bay to refuel on its way to a European tour where the prototype shuttle was then displayed in France and the United Kingdom. This was the first time that the US Space Shuttle had ever landed outside the United States. On the 11th of September 2001, Goose Bay hosted 7 transatlantic commercial airliners, which were diverted to land as part of Operation Yellow Ribbon, followed by the closure of North American airspace as a result of the 9/11 terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. It was also the first Canadian airport to receive diverted aircraft. A new terminal structure was built in 2012, mainly for civilian use. The smaller terminal structure located at Zweibrücken Crescent. An increasing number of airliners, especially mid-range aircraft like the Boeing 757, have resorted to using Goose Bay for unplanned fuel stops, especially common for transatlantic flights impacted by a seasonally strong jet stream over the North Atlantic. The majority of civilian airliners using the airfield are not regularly scheduled airlines to this location. The heavy contamination of the site and surrounding area is the result of decades of military operations. For many years, waste material was disposed of on site. The contamination is mostly due to the waste dumps and substance leaks from storage tanks, pipelines and equipment. As a result, both the soil and groundwater of the site have been contaminated with polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, heavy metals and polychlorinated biphenyls, among other hazardous substances. In addition, in 2014 it was estimated that there were over 1 million litres of undissolved petroleum before the cleanup. The contamination spread over more than 100 individual sites on the base. Over time, the contamination spread from the base itself onto neighbouring private and provincially owned land. In 2004, groundwater pollution of the surrounding area had progressed to an extent that the Department of National Defence warned local farmers to avoid using well water until further testing was done. Work started on remediation in 2009 and is slated to be finished by 2028. As of 2022, the federal government has spent nearly $142.9 million on remediating the site. Over 46,000 cubic meters of contaminated soil has been cleaned and safely returned to the site, and over 700,000 litres of hydrocarbons have been recuperated, and over 5 million litres of contaminated groundwater have been treated. A number of different technologies have been employed on the site to clean up, such as dual-phase vacuum extraction. So there you are, quite a bit of history. There's a lot more I could have talked about, but as you can see, this base has had a long history, not only to civilian but mainly military. There have been atomic bombs here. There have been issues with waste, which have taken a lot of time and money and effort to clear up. But there you go. It's quite a nice scenery, to be honest. It really is. Okay, let's go back to the chart. Let's change the lighting and let's have a look at the runway situation here. Okay, so runway. So these days Goose Bay operates just 2 runways. The longest runway, 0826, measures 11,052 feet or 3,369 meters and is made from asphalt. The shorter runway, 3315, measures 9,584 feet or 2,921 meters and is also constructed from asphalt. The airport lies at an elevation of just 160 feet or 49 meters and sits within the GMT UTC -3 hours time zone. Now Canada does indeed observe daylight saving time or DST, and with both the UK and Canada still on summertime, Goose Bay Airport is currently 4 hours behind the UK. So it's 4:15 in the afternoon. I've kept it in winter. This is December. Brought the light down for you to have a look. We're looking down the throat of runway 0826. So let's discuss the runways and the approach aids. So runway 08 and 26, both ends of this runway feature high intensity runway lighting, a simplified short approach lighting system with runway alignment indicator lights, and precision approach path indicators on both sides. Now we saw briefly the other end, and as you can see this short approach lighting system with sequence lights, PAPIs on both sides. You've also got centre line here as well and the high intensity lighting system. So this is all pretty much correct. So approach options available for runway 08. This end you have a standard instrument landing system with X, Y and Z options. There's an RNAV GNSS approach option. There's a TACAN DND approach option and a high TACAN DND approach option. Those last two are generally available to the military. So let's go have a look at the other end, runway 26. So here we are at the other end, runway 26, looking towards the west, and as you can see we've got the same short approach lighting system with sequence lights, PAPIs on both sides, high intensity runway lighting, and still have the centre line. Centre line's not listed, but again, I'm not going to complain. Every little thing that helps just makes life a bit easier. Approach options of runway 26, well this time you have a localizer back course DND option, and again you have an RNAV GNSS approach, a TACAN DND approach and a high TACAN DND approach option. There's also an NDB approach option as well. So the ILS works at this end, but it's a back course, something you'd need to be aware of. Alright, let's look at runway 33. Okay, so here we are looking down the throat of runway 3315, and once again I should mention that this runway also has the same lighting and approach situations that the other runway has as well. You've got the short field approach lighting system with sequence flashing lights, the high intensity lighting system, PAPIs on both sides, and this should also be featured at the other end, which we'll look at in a minute. Approach options for runway 33, you just have the TACAN DND approach and the high TACAN DND approach, so I would suspect this is mainly used for military's operations going in this end. Okay, so let's finally look at runway 15, the other end. And here we are, finally the other end. This is runway 15. And as you can see, exactly the same situation here. Short approach lighting system, PAPIs on both sides, high intensity runway lighting and the centre line. So both runways fully equipped as best as they can in terms of the lighting options. So approach options to runway 15, you have a VOR approach option and an RNAV GNS approach option only. So just the two options there. So the other big main long runway is equipped with an ILS, but it's an ILS at one end and it's a back course at the other, so something you should be aware of. So that does it for runways. No jetways at this airport. Obviously it's mainly a military airport with civilian parking options. Let's get down to the airfield and we'll bring the day up a little bit. I'm going to keep it like this with the snow because I think it looks really well, and I think it shows off the airport better than it does when you've got like nothing on the ground, as it were. So let's get down to the daytime tour and have a look. Okay, welcome back. So we've got runway 1533 to the right of us there. It's now 4 PM, it's still December, and I thought we would leave it as it is so we can have a look at what's on the airfield, and hopefully this presented in a nice way. So first of all, we look at the northeast side moving south. As you can see, beautiful trees. It looks really good in the winter here. Looks very nice. So plenty of buildings, clutter, various bits and pieces, some animations. There's a bus down there. I think you've got sort of cargo operations here. There's a helicopter down there. It's really nice. Simplified, but it's very nice. Cargo containers. There's the old control tower, which is no longer operational. You've got runway 26 threshold here. So continuing, there's runway 33 threshold. We're continuing south here. I think it looks lovely in the winter. It looks a lot more realistic in the winter with the snow on the ground. So here you get the main parking area where the airliners that would stop over generally would park. There's my aircraft over there on the right. Incidentally, no GSX profile available, yet the airport does, the stairs and everything do work. Moment I spawned the aircraft, we've got stairs went up to the aircraft, which is great. But as you can see, plenty to explore on the ramp here. And it all looks pretty nice. Here you've got a fuel tank here. And your vehicle's going around the airside road. So as you can see, it's December, the sun hangs low in the sky. And we're heading back north now. But the ramp is really nicely done. And it all looks very simplified, which is fair enough, to be honest. And I think this is going to be another airport that looks really good during the darkness hours. But I think it looks very, very quaint with the snow on the ground. As you can see, plenty of vehicles. There's the main control tower, which sits really at the junction of the two main runways. It's just really nicely modelled. Nothing fantastic. And given the price, this is pretty much exactly right. But they've done a lovely job here. Just really nice. So we crossed the taxiway. Here's runway 0826. We crossed that, and this, you can see what you're looking at in front of us was the old third runway that was previously in use and is no longer in use. In fact, I'm not even sure whether or not it's used as a taxiway, but it's been recreated in the scenery, which is excellent. And once again, you've got to enjoy the scenery. It's just beautiful, sort of, you know, winter trees. It's very, very nice. So here's the view from the flight deck. We're parked up on the southeastern parking area where the airliners would park, and this is the view. As I said, we're in December. It's just after 4 p.m. and there's snow on the ground, and this is the view. There's the view from the captain's side, and looking out the first officer's window. So a couple of quick shots at the ramp where you might park your airliner. As you can see here, we've got the stairs up. I've got GSX installed. There's no official profile for this, but I did just go and set it up. Went into the FS Dream Team Manager and just set up CYYR, and this is what we've got. So you've got the facilities to be able to move or push back the aircraft or do whatever you want. There's a close-up of the front door. And there's the rear door, rear stairs. And there's a view from the other side, and you can see we've got cargo lifters as well. So despite the fact that there's no official profile, GSX probably would work quite well here. This, I believe, is a static aircraft. It doesn't look like a default model. I'm pretty sure it's a static aircraft. So let's have a quick ramp tour. Just have a close look at some of these buildings and hangars. I mean, the modelling is nice. It's very, very nice. It's simplified. You know, we're not talking FLYTAMPA here, but they have added a lot of detail. And it does look really quite nice. So I think what they were saying in the features is probably about right. There's certainly a lot here. There really is. We've added a lot of features. Speed it up a little bit more, but even the sort of the equipment is covered with a layer of snow, which really is very nice as well. Once again, cars in the car park, and you've got a couple of aircraft here. There's a static over there at the right. So here's the other area to the southwest. There's the field. There's the fire station. There's the main control tower, which is not developed inside. But as you can see, there's a lot of detail here. They've done a nice job on some of the buildings, and essentially just made this look really good. It's very nice. So any of you want to do stopovers on the way to in a smaller aircraft, this is quite a nice stopover point, I would think. But as you can see, it looks lovely. It really does. I just thought I would have a look at this product because it's a little unusual. And I have memories from years ago. My first ever trip to America was on an airline called Trans-International on a DC-10. I went to Los Angeles, but we stopped over in Goose Bay to clear customs and immigration, and then basically it became a domestic flight, and we flew on to LA and arrived there at midnight. But as you can see, there's a lot of detail here. It's very nice. Okay, so that was a daytime tour. Let's take it right down to dusk now, which probably won't last very long, but I want to bring the lighting on and see what it looks like. Okay, 4:25 p.m. Lights came on about 5 minutes ago, and they were graduated, which again is another really cool feature that some people put in their sceneries rather than just literally switching them on. So over that 5 minutes the lights came on, and this is what we're looking at. Very subtle, and as you can see, lighting also on various bits and pieces off airport here. There's the other area on the northeast side, which is mainly cargo. Again, lots of nice subtle lighting, and again you can see some lighting down here off by the bay, which looks really good. So first of all, let's go slightly off airport and have a look and see what we've got here. You see all of the buildings are slightly parallaxed. Okay, it's a Sobo globes here, but you know, it looks nice. It's very Christmassy. It just looks really nice. So back on the main ramp heading northeast, parallel with the 0826 runway, and as you can see, some very nice subtle lighting. Really is nice here. It really looks the part. It's very nice. Just another airport that comes to life a bit more during the evening hours or the darkness hours. But it looks lovely. And I have to say, it looks great with the snow on the ground. Well, the drop lighting on the hangars look really good. It really does look lovely. There's a control tower building. Again, some nice subtle lighting. Fire station down there. And this looks great. I mean, there's extensive use of Asobo globes as well, but I'm not really going to complain about that. So once again, you've got this hangar here. There's an aircraft behind it. There's two aircraft behind it. And some very nice down lighting that really makes it look lovely. It's lovely. It's just really nice. And as you continue, you know, there's just the buildings are parallaxed ever so slightly. They just look good. They really do. So we have a look at this area on the northeast side, adjacent to 3315. Again, you've got that huge hangar there with interior lighting. There's the old control tower. And again, you've got some very nice little subtle lighting that just makes this area look lovely. It's a nice little scenery. For the price, there's an awful lot in it. They really have done an atmospheric job on this, so I think the what's written in the features is pretty much true to life. There really is some lovely subtle lighting, especially when you look at this place in winter. It's very nice indeed, really is nice. So, you know, for both military and civilian, you're going to be well catered for. It's a nice little airport. Okay, so that was during the day. Let's bring it down to night time now. Or rather, that was dusk. Let's bring the night right upon us and see what it looks like. Okay, it's 9 PM local time in the evening. As I said, it's December. We've got snow on the ground, and this is the high-level shot showing you the main sort of central area. Control tower is here. Parking area where my aircraft is down here. Various hangars and bits and pieces here to the west. And it looks lovely. It's going to be difficult, I think, taxiing around at night because there doesn't appear to be any centerline or blue lights anywhere. So they're looking south. I mean, the runway is lit, obviously. So you're going to, if you do land here at night, you're probably going to need, if you've got GSX, you probably might be able to get a marshaller. Other than that, you're going to have to rely on your lights to find the taxiways and, you know, just find the way off, as it were. And they're looking northeast. That's the area we just looked at a moment ago, where you've got lots of cargo. Really nice. So here's a quick view from the flight deck. As you can see, it's pretty dark. There's hardly any lighting around here at all. The lights you can see here are the tug. There we are, looking out of the captain's side and looking across the first officer's window. So just a quick close-up view of the aircraft from the outside at night time with the hangars in the background. It really does look pretty picturesque, I can certainly say that. So you've got the lights on the stairs there which look really good, and on the tug that are giving you some lighting. There's a view from the other side, and as you can see, I've switched the tail light on, which is really good, and you've got your red and green wing lights, navigation lights as well. So we'll take a short nighttime tour heading towards the control tower. We're going north now. Got runway 3315 to the right of us. As you can see, the lighting's pretty good on the hangars, and the buildings all look pretty nice. They're very, very nicely bathed, but you can't see much in the way of ground lighting. In fact, what I might do, let's just move to the right here, and let me just very quickly bring it back to August, to today's date. It's the 22nd of August 2025, the date of this video. Let's get rid of the snow and let's see if there's any ground lighting. So here we go, once again moving towards the control tower. And there's no taxiway lighting at all, none that I can see. We're now moving southwest. There's the control tower to the left, the fire station down there. There's the control tower building, and as you can see below us, you've got the main ramp on this side, but no taxiway lighting at all. But just a quick look at some of the buildings. I mean, the lighting is lovely, and the texturing and the modelling here. You've got weathering on this building here. And once again, no expense has been spared with detail. It looks really good, it really does. And the effect is very nice, certainly at night. It is definitely one of these places that comes to life at the darkness hours. And with the snow removed, you can see some of the ground lighting, which looks really good too. Okay, so that was night time. As you can see, plenty to look at. Let's bring the dawn up. I'll put the snow back because it did look good, but we'll bring the dawn up. Okay, 20 past 8 in the morning, the sun's come up behind me, and here we are looking at the main western ramp here, and my aircraft is parked down on this end here. And you can see the hills in the background. It's just a beautiful sight, I think. There we are looking north. You've got that cargo area, runway 33 there in front of us. There's my aircraft parked on the ramp over there. And the sun rises in the east. Okay, so 10:30 in the morning local time, time to wrap up the view and give you my thoughts. This isn't an expensive scenery. I mean, just under $14 US, just under 12 euros, just over a tenner in the UK, and those prices include tax, by the way. Do we have a highly detailed rendition of Goose Bay Airport crafted with passion and precision? That's taken from the features list. I think we do. It looks very simplified when you sort of go over it, but when you look into the detail, there's plenty there. I think it looks wonderful, especially at this time of the year when the snow's on the ground. It looks a bit sort of bland during the summer. Textures are okay, but like I said, when you get down to the nitty-gritty, there's a lot of detail. There's loads of buildings, loads of hangars, both on and off airport. And they've constructed a lot of the stuff on the airport that you can see in the images where the research I've done that actually isn't listed on the chart. So they've done a nice job, I think, all in all. We're lacking some people, some figures around. You could argue it's a bit of a ghost town, but maybe that's something to look at in the future, maybe to upgrade this. I'd like to see a few people. Control tower would be nice to see that developed. The lights are missing on top of the tower. You need a red light on there. That's international IATA regulations. Taxiway lighting, well, there is none. I'm not so sure whether or not there are at the real airport. I would be surprised if there isn't some kind of ground lighting, because this is a 24-hour facility, certainly for military use. So maybe something like that, maybe that could be added should it be available in the real world. That's something that needs to be researched. Perhaps I'll have a word with PROPAIR FLIGHT and see what they think. But I think it's lovely. The price is right. It's a lovely little airport. If you want to recreate some of the flights that you did when you were younger, I certainly did when I was in my early 20s. I think I flew out to the States for the very first time. And we stopped over in Goose Bay to do the refuel and the customs bit. Trans International Airlines was the airline I flew with a DC 1030 out of Gatwick. And some memories from that, I'll tell you. But yeah, we stopped in Goose Bay. And my brother's actually been here as well, spent the night here and found his way out of the States by hopping onto a Hercules, get back to the UK some years ago. So this place has memories for me. But I think it's lovely. I think the price is right. It's a nice little airport. It's not overdone. Don't expect FLYTAMPA or PYREEGUE Dev Company. It's not that kind of scenery. But if you wanted a good rendition of Goose Bay, I think this is it, and well worth the money. Okay, there you are. Thanks for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you've been wondered about this, then I hope this review has helped you. I just think it's a nice airport, well modelled, with pretty much everything included and some nice attention to detail. And let's have PROPAIR FLIGHT get a look at this and maybe answer some of the questions I've got. But I think it's lovely. If you want the best Goose Bay, I think this is it. So there you are, folks. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for watching. And as I said, I hope this has helped. Thanks for your support. I will see you in the next video. You guys take care. Fly safe. Bye for now.